Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're here with a developer update for January of 2024, and it was also announced that tomorrow will be the P2B. Let's just go over some of the notes that we have here, changes that are coming or potentially coming that are being tested to come within 3 weeks from the P2B. So let's just jump right into it. So obviously we have the generators, the 3-gen situation. So they're saying they have a few updates for the generators. More specifically is how generators are damaged by the killer and how their regression can be stopped by survivors. So two parts is the how it's damaged by the killers and how it's stopped that regression by the survivors. So gen tapping. And this is to also counter or at least help with the 3-gen situation that we have going on. So going forward, each generator can only offer a maximum of 8 regression events. That means, I think that what that means is that the killer can only kick the generator 8 times. That, I think that's, if I'm correct, I think that's what it sounds like. A regression event is any time the killer or the perks removes at least 2.5% of the generator's progress in an instant. An indicator will show the killer if the generator can no longer be damaged. They're saying that in the long or overwhelming majority of the games, this will not be a problem in terms of using 8 times. I think it shouldn't be, but obviously we have to test it to see how that works and what exactly that entails. So also the other thing that they're fixing, so they're fixing two things. They're fixing the problem that survivors have been complaining about, and then what killers have been complaining about, which is the whole gen tapping situation where you kick a gen and the survivor goes and stops it immediately after. So they're addressing that, and basically, since now the number of regressions events are limited, these are obviously stopping the gen from regressing will be more meaningful, which that's what I thought first when I read the first part. It's like if it's only 8 times so you can kick it, if a survivor just goes immediately and stops it, that would create more of a problem as well too in terms of just gen rushing. So what they're doing for this is the following. The base damage from kicking a generator has been increased to 5% from 2.5. So automatically just base kit, the kicks will reduce the progression by 5%. And at least 5% of the generator total charges must be repaired to stop regression. Otherwise, it'll be green regressing again when the survivors get off. What this sounds like is that it has to have at least 5% of gen progress in order for the survivors to stop the gen from regressing. If it doesn't have 5%, it will just regress back up. Followed up by the FOV setting. We're gonna get this in the beta section of the game. Basically, this will mean that finally killers will be able to adjust the FOV. Yeah, it's something that it's useful, honestly, and people usually use Shadowborn for that, but that's a perk slot that you're using for something that should have been in the game years ago. So it will range from 87 degrees to 103 degrees, the current maximum of Shadowborn. So it's like having Shadowborn without having to use Shadowborn. Obviously, they're saying this only applies to killers, not survivors, because, I mean, you have a third cam view, and also I'm assuming that also doesn't apply to Chucky, because Chucky has a third cam view, so this only applies to killers that have a first-person view of stuff. Followed up at the Onryo. Basically, a few months ago, they obviously released a major update for the Onryo, and a lot of people are saying that they love the changes, but there were some other situations where people didn't like the changes. They have a few changes in mind to restore the gameplay while keeping Condemned more prominent. When the Onryo teleports, survivors within 16 meters of powered TV will receive the stack of Condemned. The teleport cooldown has been removed, allowing her to teleport more frequently. Wouldn't that create more of a problem with the Condemned issue? Okay, whatever. We'll test it out. People will test it out. When survivor is hooked, their current Condemned progress becomes locked in, preventing it from being removed. Okay. This will make it very risky for survivors with North Sadaka's curse. Survivors will still want to shut off nearby TVs and deposit their tapes before it's too late. Speaking of tapes, they're saying curse tapes, they have been reviewed. Curse tapes no longer protect survivors from getting condemned. Curse tapes are no longer destroyed or inflict condemned when a survivor is hit. Curse tapes can only be deposited in the further TV from where they were picked up. They're saying that this will kind of incentivize some gameplay with it and still keep it very kind of like you being super like oh, I need to put the tape away. So that's kind of their take on it. We'll see how that works. The manifestation in previous update couldn't start a chase while demanifested. This had a side effect of making it very obvious when she demanifested in the middle of a chase, allowing survivors to anticipate and play around it. The Onryo can now chase survivors while demanifested. Additionally, many pointed out that the Onryo's changed add-ons. The Raiko watch was very fun to use, rather than the then add the effect back into the add-on. We instead incorporate it into the base kit to make the add-on feel less essential. Duration of invisibility while the manifest has been increased to 1.2 seconds, was 1 second. So basically, you have the invisibility while demanifesting to 1.2 seconds. You also now can chase survivors while being demanifested. They're saying they also review some of the add-ons as well too, which basically just kind of balances them off. They're not mentioning which ones. I think they just sort of pass through all the add-ons that basically the Unreal has and just gonna fix that. Follow up the Hillbilly. Finally, what people have been waiting for a long ass time. So they're saying the controversial overheat mechanic is no more. So there's not going to be an overheat mechanic anymore. When the heat meter is full, not only will he continue being able to use it, but his chainsaw will kick into overdrive and gain the following effects for the next 20 seconds. So now basically going into overheat will give you some advantages or some benefits for using that for the next 20 seconds. Chainsaw charge speed is increased by 5%. His chainsaw sprint movement increased to 13 meters per second. And the chainsaw sprint cooldowns are reduced by 10%. Heat is now good, that's what they're saying. They're cleaning up some of his stuff, so they smoothed out some issues that he has. The base chainsaw sprint movement has been increased to 10%. I don't know what it was before. I'm not a Hillbilly main. I've only played a couple times. So yeah, been increased by 10%. His chainsaw sprint movement. Reduce the size of a chainsaw collision detection to make the chainsaw sprints more maneuverable in maps and high density tiles. So basically, finally, you shouldn't be able to hit against much of the stuff since the chainsaw collision detection has been adjusted and the size has been reduced. I'm assuming his hitbox probably for the chainsaw is much smaller. We'll see how that works for maps that has been a problem for Hillbilly in the past and continues to be. Camera sensitivity is no longer incorrectly tied to the controller sensitivity setting while using a mouse and keyboard. So basically 100% for both. They also said that they did some pass on the Hillbilly add-ons as well too, which they're not revealing right now, but they said that they will reveal them when the patch notes for the PTB go live tomorrow. So you will have some of those changes for the add-ons for the Hillbilly tomorrow, and what exactly they're changing and what's staying the same. Then followed up by the Blighter Rat and the Blighter Crow. The add-ons, they have reduced the rush speed bonus of these add-ons to 2% and 3% respectively. It was 4 and 6. They're adrenaline vial, which is a lot. One of the perks, one of the add-ons that a lot of people use with Blight. No longer decreases the time to recharge the token by 1 second. No longer increases rush speed by 10%. Instead, the add-on now does the following: increases maximum rush tokens by 2. Increases maximum rush look angle by 20 degrees, and decreases rush turn rate by 55%. Alchemist Ring. Restoring rush tokens on it's been incredibly powerful, so they reworked the add-on entirely. Now Alchemist Ring increases rush duration by 20% for each consecutive rush. So basically Alchemist Ring makes the rushes longer. Compound 33, reducing the survivor's movement speed acts is very similar to increasing the Blight's rush speed. So they have changed some of this. Let me see what it is. Each consecutive rush will now, which is longer than 4 meters, increases turn rate by 33%. Okay, so if the longer the rush is, the more the turn rate will be with the Compound 33. So if you like kind of doing those trick shots, trick spins and turning with Blight a lot, you might still have some fun with this add-on. And then the Iridescent Blight tag, obviously was a very powerful thing, and people kind of used it where like you could spam smacking until you get 1 token left and then down the survivor. So now it enables rush to be performed without spending tokens. Interesting. Rush bonuses are capped after 3 consecutive rushes. Blighted Corruption goes on cooldown for 20 seconds after a successful leader rush attack. So basically now the Iridescent Blight tag has a cooldown for 20 seconds. So that's it for the killer kind of reworks or tweaks, whatever you want to call it with that regard. And then now we have some perk updates. First up on the list, we have Save the Best for Last. It's been obviously a lot of people abuse the perk. They use it to their advantage. So the following changes have been made. Each token granted a stackable 4% decrease successful base attack cooldowns. It was 5, so they reduced by 1%. 2 tokens are lost when the obsession loses the health state by any means. It was basic attacks. So now Even if you don't use your basic attack and you use your power as a nurse or as Blight or any of the other people, or like Billy, for example, or Bubba, you're still gonna lose 2 tokens if you hit the obsession. So either you either go for everybody else and leave the obsession alone if you want to keep your tokens, or you lose tokens either way. I don't know if this was the right change per se. We'll see how this works. Yeah, we'll see. They're followed up by Grim Embrace. I mean, obviously, Grim Embrace blocks activated for substantial duration. However, it only activates once and requires the killer to hook every survivor once, which makes it hard to activate. So now they're adding the following effects. The first time a survivor is hooked, all generators are blocked for 8, 10, and 12 seconds, respectively, depending on the tier of the perks you have, once the killer moves at least 16 meters from the hook. Kind of incentivizing not camping if you want to block the gens. Hook the first time you hook a survivor, they get blocked once you move 16 meters away from the hook. Quick Gambit. This perk grants survivors a repair speed boost when you're being chased nearby. However, its range is very low. Yeah, it was pretty much worthless to use it unless you were using it on a 2-story map and someone was downstairs and you were working on a den upstairs, which how often does that happen? So they have increased the range to 36 meters. It was 24. And they have reduced their repair speed bonus to 3, 4, and 5. I guess because they're thinking that more people were going to use it, and leaving it at 6, 7, and 8 would be kind of a little bit ridiculous. 3, 4, and 5 still, if you stack it with other perks and whatnot, or a toolbox, is still pretty solid. Followed up by Hex Ruin. Basically, Ruin now will not disable once a survivor is killed or sacrificed. That was the change that they did a couple months ago, or last year, whenever it was. I can't remember exactly. So you'll just have to cleanse it. I could probably see more people using it. I already have seen some people use Ruin as it is in the last couple of weeks, so maybe we'll bring it back into lineup. Shadowborn, obviously, since the new FOV slider has been introduced, it becomes obsolete now. So what does it do now? When blinded by any means, gain 6, 8, and 10% haste effect for 10 seconds. Interesting. So now you can do a whole build with haste effects for killers, even more now than ever. So followed up by minor abuse, another perk that has an FOV kind of change. So I guess minor abuse just stays the same. They just removed the FOV adjustments from this perk. So you'll just have whatever the other effect is that I forget. I think it's haste, right? I believe. Oh, sorry, like terror radius. That's what it is. So you will have your terror radius reduction, just no FOV altering since you have the FOV slider. And then the map that we're getting reworked for this time is Ormond, surprisingly. They're making some changes to the layout, back in front of the layout, the lodge, and some changes to the loops, and some changes to the loop and whatnot. So the front of the lodge currently has a long row of rocks stretching across it. Basically, it's just kind of a dead zone. So they're creating an overhaul for that. Here are some images of it. I think they're adding, they're adding more stuff in the middle. I think maybe an extra pallet or two, maybe. Seems it's like an actual loop. You can actually now loop people around this. There's like ski mounting things that you can loop around it. I think they removed some of the picnic tables on that, and they added more of these rocks and piles of snow. Obviously creates more defense and more the ability to loop around it instead of just immediately going down. Then finally, it's not something that's coming to PTV, but their first time limited time modifier, Dead by Daylight Lights Out, will be available to play in the coming months. They say to stay tuned for more information. Lights Out. I wonder if it's some sort of thing where like it's dark, like how Dead by Daylight used to be back in the past, where the maps were darker. That's my guess. Could be fun to see that. I'm very excited for those modes or limited time modifiers, I guess you could say. So the PTB is coming tomorrow, obviously, but yeah, these are the changes that we have. I'm not going to comment much on the changes, obviously, because I don't want to make assumptions based on the paper, on the written version of that. I hate doing that. People go directly for that usually, like, oh, I think this is going to be a problem. It may be, it may not. Again, the only way to find out is to actually play the game and to actually go in and test it out. Because from a paper perspective, there's things that have seemed fine, and then when you play them, they're actually a problem. So I'm going to reserve my commentary on that for now. Obviously, this video has been already longer than I already wanted it to be, because it's a pretty hefty developer update for the month of January/2024. So thank you so much again for watching this video. If you did enjoy the video, leave a thumbs up, subscribe. You know what to do. and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.